Tonight, a shattered father's message to two men charged with murdering his son after a police breakthrough. Details live. Plus, Vladimir Putin's chilling war cry as Russian forces unleash hell on Ukraine's safe haven. Anthony Albanese hits back at shock new bullying claims inside the Labor Party. The drastic budget measures to help ease cost of living pain for Victorian families. And the MCG under fire from fans as long queues and an injury scare overshadow Geelong's crushing win over the Bombers.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Madden.
Good evening. Two men have been charged with murder over the brutal stabbing death of a promising young basketballer. Blake Johnson is at the scene at Docklands. Blake, the victim's shattered relatives have welcomed the breakthrough.
They have, Beck, but now they want answers. They say they are no closer to understanding why this deadly attack happened here in Docklands last weekend. The breakthrough came yesterday when 2 warrants were carried out. Police arresting this 19-year-old man from Derrimut. He would later be charged with murder. The other, a 21-year-old man from Wollert, is taken away to be charged with affray and violent disorder. After picking up those 2, 3 others were arrested. One of them also charged with the murder of Aaliyah Riak. The 23-year-old was visiting from Perth to celebrate his birthday. He'd been out with his brothers. One of them was badly hurt in the attack, stabbed in the back. Aaliyah's dad has flown here from Perth. He'll take his son's body home next week, but he's desperate to know why this happened.
They have to say, whatever the reason they do it, they kill my son. That is what I want.
Why?
Yeah, to know why they took the life of somebody without reason.
Police say the victims here were innocent. Students and athletes from a good family. They describe this attack as senseless. The investigation is ongoing and more arrests are possible. Beck? OK,
Blake Johnson, thank you. Ukraine's president is calling for urgent peace talks with Moscow as homes and schools are targeted in the country's capital. Now, even the safe haven of Lviv, where more than 3 million people have sought refuge, is under attack.
It's been a sanctuary for hundreds of thousands fleeing war, but nowhere is safe now. Russian cruise missiles strike an aircraft factory just 6 kilometres from the heart of Lviv. The attack, says the local governor, shows Russia is not at war with the Ukrainian army, but its people. In the capital, Kyiv, another cluster of residential towers hit, a missile landing between 3 low-rise buildings, a school and a supermarket, a whole community in pieces.
Tell me what happened this morning. What did you see?
They exploded our house, she says. They just blew it up. This man wounded.
You actually saw the missile?
Yes, with my own eyes, he says. It was 4 to 5 metres long. It's buried 2 metres down. A backhoe brought in to recover the remains.
And look at this. The entire wall of the side of this building ripped away, exposing the bedrooms and the apartments in there. 5 floors completely opened up.
But then a shout goes up. Urgent orders to evacuate the area.
They're pushing everybody back now because they think they've found some unexploded ordnance in one of the holes where the missile landed on the other side of this block.
As police try to evacuate the scene, this woman asks if she can speak, but she's struggling to hold herself together. I'm sorry. Is everybody okay? Are you okay? And as we walk her away, fighter jets appear in the sky. We're not sure if they're local or Russian.
There's Red Cross over here.
The woman we lead to medical help. Many were injured today, 1 killed. A total now of 60 in the capital since the war began.
Never ever Russians to come to our city. Better we died.
Putin's strategy of attrition, part of a plan, experts believe, to wear down Ukraine's people. Here, Russian tanks roll across train tracks, a reckless disregard for the approaching passenger train, forced to throw the brakes. But Ukraine soldiers continue to fight back hard. And in many places, they are holding them at bay.
Well, we're just a couple of kilometres away from the Irpin front line here. Last week, this area was alive with the activity, the panic of getting thousands of refugees out of the area. Now it is relatively calm, quiet, except for the noise of warfare.
We launched our drone toward the front line, where the horizon is still burning. The bridge remains blocked with abandoned cars, and we spy just a single Russian tank, no column. The Russians appear stuck. Zero progress on this critical approach from the north to the capital, Kyiv. But in Mariupol, Russia's stranglehold on the southern port is tightening. Fighting now has reached the city centre, once home to some 440,000 people. 80% of residential buildings now damaged or destroyed. There's no power or gas. What little food they have cooked outside on open fires. Dead bodies lie in the street, some buried beside their destroyed homes. This doctor makes a plea for it to stop as they operate on another wounded child. 130 people have been rescued from the rubble of the theatre bombing, but that's just a tenth of the numbers thought to have been inside. They are battling to find those still below. Ukraine's president says it's time for dialogue, calling for meaningful peace talks with Moscow, claiming Russia's losses will be so high it won't be able to rise again for generations. But at the moment, it's his people paying the price. This poignant protest, 109 prams and strollers laid out in Lviv's central square, one for each of the children killed so far. In Kyiv, Chris Reason, 7 News.
And we go live now to Jeff Parry in Lviv. Jeff, Russia is stepping up its attack on several key cities.
Yes, Rebecca, this latest attack is in Mykolaiv. It's near the Black Sea. A direct hit on a military training base killed 45 soldiers and injured dozens more. Mykolaiv is important to the Russians. It's a staging post for a final attack on Odessa, and if they can capture Odessa, they'll cut all of Ukraine off from the sea. Unfortunately, it looks like it's near the end for Mariupol. Both sides agree that Russian troops have now entered the centre of the city, although there's still some fierce fighting going on there, and no response yet to a call by President Zelensky for meaningful peace talks with Russia. He's told Moscow they need to restore Ukraine's territorial integrity or they're going to face a terrible price. Rebecca?
Jeff Parry reporting live. Thank you. Joe Biden has warned Xi Jinping there could be consequences if China backs Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The leaders met via video link just hours after Vladimir Putin appeared at a huge pro-war rally in a packed Moscow stadium.
In the eyes of the West, he's a war criminal. Here, he got a hero's reception.
Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin!
Packed into the stadium that hosted the World Cup in 2018, Putin loyalists waving a symbol that's come to represent support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Namely, to liberate the people from this genocide of these sufferings. This is the main reason, motive and goal of the military operation which we have launched in the Donbass and Ukraine.
Levelling false claims on stage and firing missiles at maternity hospitals, Putin quoted Bible scripture in his rare public speech.
Greater love has no one than this. That he lay down his life for his friends.
Russia's circle of friends has dwindled since attacking its neighbour. Much of the world has turned its back on Putin, but for an autocratic ally in China.
China has to make a decision for themselves about where they want to stand.
In a 2-hour video call today, President Biden pressed Xi Jinping on just that, sharing few details publicly but warning there would be implications and consequences if China provides material support to Russia as it conducts brutal attacks against Ukrainian cities and civilians. China saying the Ukraine crisis is not something we want to see. Conflict and confrontation are not in anyone's interest. From past presidents, a show of unity as Bill Clinton and George Bush laid flowers at a church in Chicago. Sunflowers for Ukraine, yellow spacesuits too, as 3 Russian cosmonauts arrived at the International Space Station wearing the colours of the Ukrainian flag. In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
A 47-year-old woman has died after being struck by a car at Tacoma last night. It's believed she was hit while crossing Burwood Highway. The driver stopped at the scene. Police and SES arrived to assist, but the woman could not be saved. Federal opposition leader Anthony Albanese is facing mounting pressure to order an inquiry into the Mean Girls scandal. Kimberley Kitching's best friend is tonight claiming bullying from inside the Labor Party took a toll on her health in the lead-up to the Victorian senator's death.
Diana Asmar held her friend Kimberley Kitching's hand as she died. Now she's using that same hand to point the finger at Labor's internal culture. She was, by definition, bullied. It was sustained, it was ongoing, believing it significantly worsened her health. Asmar, secretary of the Health Workers Union, telling News Corp the Victorian senator had recently broken out in rashes, her hands had started shaking uncontrollably, and her upper lip would quiver at the mention of Anthony Albanese or Penny Wong. The Labor leader hitting back.
That's just not true. I received no complaints from Senator Kitching.
Again, ruling out an inquiry into the claims.
We have a process established, which is there.
The three senators involved have denied the allegations.
I think it's unfortunate that we continue to see allegations aired about these three women.
At difficult times like this, that we need to be looking after each other.
In the hours before her death from a suspected heart attack, Kimberley Kitching faced the very real prospect her political career was coming to an end. Told that she was unlikely to be pre-selected on Labor's Senate ticket for the upcoming federal election.
From time to time in politics, it's a competitive business.
Kimberley Kitching's funeral will be held on Monday in Melbourne. Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
Protesters have caused commuter chaos in the city, rallying against vaccine mandates. The demonstration came as Victoria recorded 2 more COVID-related deaths and just under 8,000 new cases. The state's 7-day average continues to climb, authorities say, because the more infectious son of Omicron is now the dominant strain. The MCG is under fire from footy fans, with many forced to wait in long queues at understaffed food and bar outlets. The issue was made even worse when some of the ground's internet banking services went down during today's Cats-Bombers clash. The MCG apologised. Like the rest of the hospitality industry nationally, we're experiencing some staffing shortages today. Victorian families are being forced to choose between food on the table or putting petrol in their cars. The rising cost of living is now looming as the key state election issue, giving the Andrews government a tough choice of its own.
There's pain at the Bowser.
Petrol prices are going to be held up higher, at least for the next month or so.
And at the checkout. And it's forcing Victorians to make difficult choices.
Do you fill your car up so that you can run your kids to school or to go to a medical appointment or to go to work? Or do you put food on the table? Do you eat 3 meals? Do you buy medication? Or do you turn the lights on or the heater on?
The state government is considering adding more debt to the May budget to help households meet their own budgets, a move they say they've been forced to make.
We've had a federal government that has been asleep at the wheel in dealing with cost of living pressures for not only Victorians but for Australians.
In many ways, it's really the Commonwealth government levers that are going to have most impact through things like how they tax us and the excises that they put on oil, for example, and also how they distribute money through the economy, through the welfare system.
In Victoria, health costs, property rates and insurance have all risen by more than 3%. Groceries have risen up to 7%, fuel prices up almost 30%.
So it's probably around 15 years ago since the last time that we've had such price pressures working their way through the economy.
As the state government considers budget measures to reduce the cost of living, the community sector says there are immediate changes that can be made to relieve some of the pressure on families.
We're looking at free Myki cards for kids to attend school. There's some really great things that the government could do that would make a huge difference to the hip pockets of Victorians.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
The polls are about to close for the South Australian state elections. Sitting Premier Stephen Marshall is fighting for his political life, with opinion polls tipping Labor opposition leader Peter Malinauskas will claim victory. The campaign has been dominated by the state's pandemic response and recovery. There are signs tonight that Melbourne's record-setting property market is beginning to cool off. Real estate experts say the gap between seller expectation and buyer budget grows.
Little love and no buyer for this one-bedroom apartment in St Kilda today.
Third and final call. Are you done? Are you silent? At $430,000, ladies and gentlemen, I'm passing the property in. Thank you for attendance.
Half a dozen people turned up to the auction today, but the property was passed in.
Clearance rates are 75-80%, so that means that every Saturday not everything sells. But particularly with apartments, there's more apartments than there are homes. From that point of view, they take a little bit longer to sell.
But it wasn't just units. At the other end of the market, the auction of this palatial Baldwin mansion went for almost an hour, but the gavel never fell.
$6,789,000. All right, well, our instructions are to formally pass the property in.
That's the fourth auction I've done today. All of them were passed in just below vendors' expectations. I think there's a bit of a gap emerging. There's just been a little bit of a shift in the last few weeks.
Experts attribute the cooling off to a number of factors. The end of the spring selling season, as well as world events like the floods, war in Ukraine and upcoming elections.
People are looking at things like interest rate potentially rising. So there are a number of issues that could be slowing the market down a little bit.
Despite the gap in expectations, Melbourne is on track to see a record number of auctions this month. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Shane Warne's close friends and family will gather tomorrow for the cricket great's private funeral. Last night, Shane's son Jackson and daughter Brooke took part in the coin toss before the St Kilda-Collingwood game at Marvel Stadium. Warne's dad Keith was also on hand to watch a special halftime tribute to his son. Shane Warne was a fanatical St Kilda fan and a regular at the club. His public memorial will be held at the MCG on March the 30th. Well, Geelong and Essendon are counting the cost of a brutal opening round clash. Jackie Felgate, Jeremy Cameron, well, he's sent to hospital.
He has been, Beck, yes. There are concerns over a potential internal injury to the Cats star forward. Mitch Cleary has the very latest. Hello, Mitch. Cameron was taken to the Epworth Hospital.
Yeah, Jackie, Cameron was being wheeled into emergency here at the Epworth just as the Cats were singing their song after their monster win over the Bombers. Concerns over his breathing and potential internal bleeding from a massive hit in the first half. The initial diagnosis was a hip injury, but tonight the Cats are thinking it could be worse, sending the 26-year-old off for what they're describing as precautionary scans. He remains here tonight. We'll have the latest in sport. Jackie, the only dampener on what was a big way for the Cats to start their season.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mitch. Also ahead, a round one delight for the Pies and a golden day at the races. I'll see you soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jackie. See you soon. Up next, the 2 simple tests that leading doctors say can stop fatal heart attacks in their tracks. That's ahead on 7 News. Also, a 15-year-old Australian facing terrorism charges. Exclusive details on a new program teaching Victorian children the skills of managing their money. The world-famous sky whales dazzle Melbourne's northeast. And later, a special salute to an Aussie landmark on her 90th birthday. Heavily armed police have swooped on an alleged teenage terrorist. The 15-year-old was arrested at his home in Adelaide. He's accused of manufacturing explosives and possessing information for terrorist acts and extremist material. The teen was refused bail and will front court on Monday. Police say he was a lone wolf and there's no threat to the community. Shock celebrity deaths have thrust heart health back into the national spotlight. Top cardiologists now say just 2 simple tests could stop heart attacks, claiming more lives.
The tragic and sudden deaths of Shane Warne and Labor Senator Kimberley Kitching at 52 have prompted a call for more critical heart screening.
This is a completely avoidable disease and nobody should be dropping dead on their bike at the age of 55.
In 30% of cases of coronary disease, heart attacks are fatal. Many come without warning or prior symptoms. But top cardiologists say these catastrophic deaths can be prevented, urging GPs to order 2 simple scans for high-risk patients.
It's the people who are a little older, who may have a risk factor. They may be overweight. They may be a smoker, they may have a bit of blood pressure or a bit of cholesterol.
By the age of 40, we should be screening people They should, if they've got a significant risk.
But both the calcium score test and CT coronary angiogram aren't covered by Medicare.
The problem with the last two is the cost. The coronary angiogram, if the GPs order it, the patient could be up to $1,000 out of pocket. There's lots of a variety of tests we can order, just from simple blood tests to then stress tests.
Heart specialists say the tests are the most effective way of diagnosing Australia's leading cause of death. And once the disease has been identified, the life-saving treatment is making lifestyle changes.
The treatment consists of sensible diet and exercise and losing weight, and most importantly, aggressively lowering cholesterol.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
Learning to manage your money has rarely been more important. Now, young Victorians are being taught to do just that. It's part of a statewide maths talent quest, encouraging students to be savvy spenders and savers.
They may only be in grade 6.
The car business gets profit, but like the person who buys the car, they usually wouldn't get much profit off a car.
But they're already learning skills to get their finances in order.
They're very important because you would like to know how much it costs to buy a car and then resell it when it's all used up.
Last year, the state government banned school banking programs. And now a statewide maths competition is teaching young Victorians how to be masters of their own money by asking them to submit a real-world financial situation, such as buying a car or a pet, and explaining how the risk can be mitigated.
Individual students can apply, classrooms can apply, or whole schools can take part in the challenge. And again, it's about real-world financial skills. How can we move from something that is risky to something that is rewarding?
And it's prompting their curiosity about cash and credit.
They want to know how to make money, how to spend it effectively, how to make sure they can save it and make sure they don't lose it.
Entries will be judged by the Mathematical Association of Victoria, with winners entered into the National Maths Talent Quest. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
A famous pot of whales has dazzled Melbourne's northeast. Hundreds of eager locals were up early to watch the hot air balloon sky whales take off from a Fairfield oval. The curious creatures were created by Melbourne artist Patricia Bikini, known for her interesting sculptures. The sky whales are here for one weekend only as part of a national gallery tour and children's book release. Estelle Grieping joins us now. Estelle, Melbourne turned on the sunshine today. It was glorious.
Well, Beck, there was so much sunshine today. We hit 30 degrees. Our average temperature in March is around 24 degrees, with almost 7 hours of sunshine per day. So it was under blue skies today that we reached that top of 30 degrees. The weekend's lovely conditions are persisting after a stunning day outdoors. This was the view at Port Melbourne Beach, and it looked just as nice in the city, with Melbourne showing off in the sunlight. Outside now, we're still sitting on 30 degrees and we're staying warm for now. Our low tonight will be 18 degrees. And Beck, I'll have all the details after sport.
30 degrees. Thank you very much, Estelle. Well, there's justice tonight for vicious thugs who left their bashing victim with life-changing injuries. Details next on 7 News. Also, the Queen delivers a blunt message to Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. How robots are helping change the face of modern surgery. And party time on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, 90 years in the making. Shocking video of a terrifying street attack has been played in court. A gang can be seen running from a car, ambushing another man, chasing him before beating and stabbing him. The attack, which took place outside the victim's Sydney home in September 2020, left the man with life-threatening injuries. The stabber and getaway driver were both jailed this week. They'll be behind bars until at least 2024. Hillsong has apologised for the inappropriate conduct of the church's founder. Brian Houston was found to have sent inappropriate text messages to a staff member around a decade ago. She subsequently resigned. At the time, he claimed to be under the influence of sleeping tablets. Then, in 2019, during Hillsong's annual conference, Houston was allegedly under the influence of alcohol and anxiety medication when he walked into a woman's hotel room. The Hillsong Global Board said that was enough to constitute a breach of the Hillsong pastor's code of conduct. Wait lists for elective surgery have blown out across the country, but there's a new assistant reducing the time patients spend in theatre. An increasing number of surgeons are now using robots to assist during knee operations.
A helping hand during a knee operation.
And that brings a saw into alignment.
This is what robotic-assisted surgery looks like.
It's a combination of really computer navigation, which we've used for a number of years, in combination with the use of a robotic arm.
Guiding the surgeon as they cut away bone and prepare the knee for metal implants.
If you don't get the knee well balanced, they can have problems with instability.
The Velis robot removes the need for pre-operation scans and reduces time on the operating table.
The goal is to shorten the length of stay for the patient admission.
It was used on 81-year-old Beverly Crittenden this month.
I wake up of a morning and I can really feel there's a lot of improvement.
Robin Layton noticing a difference in 13 weeks.
I can stand and water the garden where before standing for any period of time, everything just locked up.
The new technology not only helps with surgery but to train for surgery, virtual reality helping to simulate an operating theatre. Allowing the whole operating team to train together, but while practice makes perfect, the robot is so accurate even I was able to do it. Best leave it to the professionals. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
The Queen has sent a not-so-subtle message to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, handing one of Meghan's old roles to the Duchess of Cornwall. Camilla will now serve as Royal Patron of Britain's National Theatre, the first of Meghan's patronages to be reappointed since she and Prince Harry quit the royal family. It's a job Camilla had hoped to take on in 2019 when it was handed to the younger royal instead. High winds have caused havoc on a US highway, bringing a truck's container clear and blowing it off a bridge. It happened in the path of a police cruiser, crushing the car in the process. No injuries were reported, although the police vehicle is a write-off. Read it and weep. This comic book just sold for $3.2 million. It's the first Marvel comic ever printed and considered one of the top 3 comic books among collectors. It was published back in 1939 and includes characters like Submariner and the original Human Torch. Celebrations are in full swing to mark 90 years since the opening of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. The famed Aussie landmark was honoured today for helping unite a divided city.
It was almost as if the sky was painted in tribute to the great grey bridge that, in all weather, has connected a city and its people for 90 years. Descendants of bridge champion engineer John Bradfield brought the cake.
Happy 90th birthday, Sydney Harbour Bridge! Hooray!
This morning, a flash of red rattling over. The same carriage that made the first journey opening day, 1932. On board, Bradfield's grandson, Philip.
I believe this is the same seat that my father sat in 90 years ago at this time.
Elizabeth was 7 years old that day, the generation who watched it rise.
The 2 half arches growing together from shore to shore were watched with growing enthusiasm.
All the children in Sydney hoped they'd miss, not come together, and we were thoroughly disappointed when they met exactly.
Thanks to people like her dad, a crane operator who moved the steel crafting those arches.
And my father would come down on a rope and have lunch with us.
Vintage Motors also bringing the spirit of that first day. 8 years to build, but Bradfield's vision for more than 30.
He stood around about where I am standing right now with my grandmother and turned to my grandmother and said, I'm going to put a bridge over that.
The official opening of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, made in Australia by Australians for Australia.
When they built the Sydney Harbour Bridge, they figured it would last for at least a century. Well, turns out it was built so well that 90 years on, it's barely reached middle age. And they think that as it is, it'll give Sydney 100 years more at least of service. So plenty more birthdays to come for the bridge that's always been more than just a bridge.
Vital work in the Depression, a podium for protest. Francis de Groot slashing the opening ribbon, not the last.
What do we want? An apology! When do we want it? Now!
carrying a nation's ambitions, a city's celebrations. Centre stage for the world to see and know us.
Whether it's 6 million rivets, whether it's 160,000 vehicles a day, whether it's a train every 3 minutes in either direction.
A fixed point for a city on the move, but significant change is coming. A third flagpole for the Aboriginal flag. 90 years after Barbara's mum and grandmother joined the million who walked across that first day, she did too, much higher up.
I've done it!
Milestones all round. Paul Caddack, 7 News.
Well, Aussie expats in Bali have survived the pandemic storm. Now they're bouncing back their message to holiday-hungry Victorians next. Also, the shocking road rage attack sparked by a long wait for fast food. And peeling back the curtain for a record attempt on World Prawn Day. A long wait for fast food has sparked a terrifying road rage attack. Police say this man was fed up waiting for the customer in front of him to order before unleashing with a metal pole.
It's unbelievable. I believe everyone gets a bit hangry. I get impatient waiting for times as well, just having to sit in line. It's just stupidity, man. Like, if you're hungry, why didn't you go in and order inside? As simple as that.
The victim wasn't injured but only just purchased the vehicle and doesn't have insurance. WA police are investigating. Aussie expats running businesses in Bali are pleading with Victorians to return to the holiday-friendly island. Local tourism was pummeled in the pandemic, but 2 years on, the travel hotspot looks better than ever.
Riding the COVID waves, the only way to survive the past 2 years.
It got really real. Nobody had a handbook on how to get through it.
Australian business owners based in Bali couldn't catch a break. The unpredictability made it difficult for the island's most popular institutions.
We used to average close to 1,000 people per day, every day of the year. So it's a little bit different now.
We can probably both agree that the most important thing for us navigating through COVID was to keep all of our staff.
The tourist mass exodus transformed the island into a cleaner, safer and private paradise.
In general, it's actually been quite a nice time to be here, apart from the fact there hasn't been any business.
10,000 expats live here in Canggu. A majority of them are Australian. When the pandemic hit, flights ground to a halt, meaning that this was their home away from home.
One thing I've seen through the riots, through the bombs, through the GFC, through all these bad times is not only the resilience of the local Balinese people, but the surfers. They keep the heartbeat alive.
The recharge of Aussie travellers now crucial.
It's a fun place and we're going to get the fun Bali back again.
It's safe. Book your ticket, get over here, come and support the locals over here. You want to get away onto a tropical island and chase those espresso martinis, ride around in a bike like you're free again. Just book a flight.
In Bali, Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
Seafood lovers have tested their skills trying to break a prawn peeling record.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, slow.
Oh
no, you've got me here.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I do better than that. That was just one. They needed to peel 21 prawns in a minute to claim a Guinness World Record. Unfortunately, they came up short, really short, peeling just 10 each.
What have you got to eat them all?
I do much more on Christmas Day. That's for sure. Time now for sport with Jackie Felgate. Jack, buddy watch, it is well and truly on.
It is indeed, Beck. Yes, the countdown to 1,000 goals has the footy world on edge. Coming up next, why Lance Franklin's milestone is proving no easy feat as the McCartan brothers get down to work. Plus, a brutal wake-up call for the Bombers on a costly opening for both Geelong and Essendon. How Carlton plans to deal with its COVID outbreak. And an emotional Jamie Carr salutes in style at Flemington. Welcome back. Jeremy Cameron is in hospital undergoing scans on a potential internal injury as the Cats gave the Bombers a big wake-up call to start the season. Patrick Dangerfield was back to his Brownlow winning best in a 66-point thumping. A 5-goal debut to a Bombers rookie, the only shining light for Ben Rutten. Geelong's highest score in 4 years.
The Cats destroy Essendon round 1 at the MCG.
Set up by a blistering opening quarter.
What a start by Hawkins.
that saw the Cats pile on 7 goals.
Danger takes it. The Cats have gone too early.
As Danger, Cameron and Hawkins combined.
And he's done it. And Geelong have 3.
And Radaglia soared.
And Radaglia! That's what happens when you put him in the thick of the action early on.
Already savaged by injury, Carl Langford was subbed out early, his right hamstring on ice. The Tomahawk went up.
Gets front position.
And Cameron and Laverde went down. Cameron subbed out with a hip injury, the pain obvious in the rooms as he struggled to breathe. Paramedics called on to take the gun forward to hospital.
He was going downhill, not improving, so somewhere between the chest and the hips.
Sam de Koning also sidelined with concussion. It was the perfect start for new Cats coaching recruit Eddie Betts. The umpire attracted a little more attention than usual.
And that is one of the great haircuts you'll see in 2022.
Sam Draper left Radaglia winded.
That'll get looked at, no doubt.
Danger took a well-earned break. The perfect welcome to the Cattery for Tyson Stengel.
Stengel's got 4!
The part I'm arguably most proud of is that our consistency's been off the back of a complete rebuild. No one likes to use that word.
Bombers fans can take comfort in Nick Martin finishing with an extraordinary 5 goals on debut.
If you don't mind, Nick Martin! There's a new Martin in town!
It was just a long way off anywhere near our best footy, and it was kind of across the board. You know, I think it's, something that probably didn't really see it coming.
Lance Franklin is edging closer to the magical 1,000 goal milestone. With his parents and former teammate Jared Roughhead watching on, the Sydney superstar opened his account for the 2022 in the second term against the Giants.
He's on the correct side for a left footer for him. 996.
The Swans trailed by 9 points at half-time on the back of some Harry Himmelberg brilliance. The GWS forward has 3 goals. Paddy McCartan had 7 disposals to half-time after being presented with his Swans jumper by brother Tom pre-game. North Melbourne's AFLW Premiership hopes have come to an end. The Kangaroos trailed by just 9 points at half-time, only for Fremantle to kick clear in the second half.
It's almost past her when she marks it. It is. That's a great grab.
The Dockers will take on Adelaide for a spot in the grand final. Collingwood trained today after its final was postponed due to COVID. The Pies are still waiting for a new date for their clash with Brisbane. The Blues are facing a nervous 24 hours after their COVID shock. Returning now to Mitch Cleary. Hello, Mitch. They've dodged a bullet for now.
Well, Jackie, all players return negative tests today as they return to the club for recovery, but they'll be swinging on the outcome of the days 3 and 4 tests, which will come day 3 and 4 on Monday and Sunday after their last contact with Jack Martin and coach Michael Voss, who returned positive results. So it's a nervous few days ahead leading to their game against the Dogs on Thursday. If Geelong's win today wasn't enough, they'll enjoy seeing Mitch Duncan get through close to 3 quarters in a VFL practice match and his return from a calf complaint. Now watch on whether he can play Friday night. Teammate Jeremy Cameron still here at the Epworth as he undergoes scans for potential internal bleeding. Jake Stringer was running today but didn't look 100%. Still no certainty to face Brisbane next week on the comeback trail from that lingering groin injury. James Hurd's 2 sons, Tom and Alex, taking to the field together in that VFL hit-out with mum Tanya watching on. The 2 sons of guns playing alongside Gavin Wanganeen's son Tex in the match, while last night Collingwood unleashed their own father-son duo.
The first tick for Collingwood's next frontier.
Sort of lost myself after the sorrow a little bit for a moment, but I just wanted to make sure I enjoyed every minute of this.
Craig McRae avoiding a late scare to land an upset over the Saints.
We're trying to form a new DNA, if you like, and our fans come and watch us play. We want to show them that we've got a little bit of fight in us.
With footy's newest double act on show.
Now Dacos, this is Josh on his non-preferred. What about that?
Dad Peter on hand as younger son Nick introduced himself with 27 touches on debut.
To play for the great club was just unreal, so I'm super proud.
Jordan De Goey's court saga a distant memory. And he jams it through! Winning the trust of the club.
I don't have scar tissue with Geordie. I don't. I judge him on the things I know of him.
A half-time Shane Warne tribute failing to inspire the Saints, already on the back foot in their quest to return to September.
missed targets when we've got no pressure or minimal pressure on the players, and that was a big disappointment.
3 goals for rookie signing and former concreter Jack Hayes, their only shining light. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
Zaki has produced a dominant win in today's All-Star Mile at Flemington in a huge boost for jockey Jamie Carr, who missed the Spring Carnival due to suspension.
50 metres to go. Zaki, a star, an all-star mile winner, scored a length and a quarter.
It just means so much more after coming back, what we had to go through, and I missed out on possibly so many big opportunities through spring.
In Sydney, Fireburn won the Group 1 Golden Slipper, the world's richest race for 2-year-olds. Will Pukowski is set to make his Sheffield Shield return next week after being named to take on WA. He hasn't played since suffering his 11th concussion. Meanwhile, Elise Perry's first over against India lasted 12 deliveries and included 10 wides. Australia had India on the ropes early but have been set 278 runs for their 5th straight World Cup win. And Daniel Ricciardo is keeping positive despite finishing 17th and 18th in the 2 practice sessions at the season-opening GP in Bahrain.
We're obviously off the pace, so need to figure that out. But it's early days.
Reigning champion Max Verstappen picked up where he left off, topping the timesheets ahead of Ferrari's Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. And Nick Kyrgios made worldwide headlines for almost hitting a ball kid with his racket in California, but he tracked the boy down, apologising with a present.
I'm sorry about yesterday. Are you all right?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
It's all you.
Appreciate that.
No worries. You going to use it?
Oh, I'll try.
So he's a nice guy after all. Kyrgios lost his cool after losing to Rafael Nadal.
I don't know if he wants the racket, does he?
No, he didn't seem
really
overly keen, did he? But a great win for the Cats. 2 Cats supporters here, so we'll try not to be too patriotic.
Right.
It was a very good start to the season.
It was nice to get round one,
out of the way and done.
Out of the way and done, feeling good. Thank you very much, Jackie. Well, Estelle is back next with the forecast. Estelle, is this summery burst of weather set to stay? It's beautiful.
Well, Beck, there is plenty more sun to come, but there'll be a few showers in the mix. I'll tell you when next.
Know the headlines as they break. Know the stories as they happen. With 7news.com.au, know the news now.
Hello again. We've started the weekend with a burst of summery sunshine. That's something we've got rather used to this March. We've had 5 days over 29 degrees this month, with our warmest temperature being 32. We didn't quite hit that today with a top of 30 degrees, but it still felt lovely and warm out there in the sun. That meant we had perfect conditions for a walk in the park. This was taken at Berwick. Taking a look at the satellite, and a low-pressure trough will cross slowly over us tomorrow before a cold front develops south of the Bight on Monday. To start the working week, we'll heat up into the high 20s and even the 30s in the north of the state. But as the days progress, we get a little cooler. And with this weekend's warm burst of weather behind us, we can expect temperatures in the low 20s by the later half of this week. So tomorrow we can expect a dry, mild day that's partly cloudy and generally warm. Echuca will hit 32. Closer in our outer suburbs could get some early morning fog. That's before most of the clouds clear, giving us a mix of sun and cloud. In the city, we'll reach a top of 24. That'll come after a warm night. It'll already be 18 degrees at 5 a.m. To the 7-day outlook, and we're looking warm and dry on Monday, a partly cloudy top of 28. On Tuesday, the temperature drops just slightly as showers develop across the afternoon and evening. We could get a thunderstorm too. By Wednesday, we're back into the teens with a shower or two clearing, and that means we should be dry by Thursday. We're expecting a top of 20 then. On Friday, we have a medium chance of showers, but any rainfall should only be light, so still a nice day with a mix of sun and cloud. And it's a similar story on this day next week. We should only just get into the 20s on another partly cloudy day. But tomorrow we cool down just slightly, and after some early morning fog, we should stay dry under partly cloudy skies. From a low of 18, we should reach 24. Beck?
Pretty good to me. Thank you very much, Estelle. And that is 7 News for this Saturday, the 19th of March. We're heading to the Gabba next for the big clash between the Lions and Port. For now, from the 7 News team, have a lovely night. Good night.